I think we played like 15 games together as a team so far. So we need to build our synergy. We need to build up our team play that we had last season, our macro play, because on individual level, I think we're one of the best that we can be. So we just need time, and we will be the best.
Welcome back to the European LCS. As we speak, H2K and Giants are setting up for their first encounter of the season, and the Fisho has also subbed in with the burst here on the analyst desk.
Hey, that Graves jungle was pretty strong.
Is it G2 or? No.
I believe it is G2.
It is G2. Well, let's take a look at the lineup for H2K, because that's one of the teams we'll see playing here today. Odawamne, Jankos, Ryu, Forgiven, Vander, and Prowly. Now, an impressive lineup, as Odawamne also said, in terms of individual skill, and we discussed it already. Winners of the off-season, most probably, if we look at transfers alone.
Yeah, I mean, we look at the players, obviously saying that some fantastic players have added here to the lineup, especially Forgiven. It's going to be super exciting to watch, but also Jankos. I'm looking at him becoming the best jungler in Europe, honestly, this split. But Spirit is probably going to be in the way. Forgiven, however, is a fantastic carry. Forgiven is a guy who's been on many different teams now, honestly, in the EU LCS, but he's always had standout performances on every single one.
The question in this lineup is, of course, with people coming from different teams and having individual skill, how will the dynamic be between them? Who is a shot caller in this lineup? How will that work?
Well, we've always heard different things about these players. When you look at it, you know, people have talked about how much Ryu says in game. Does he speak? Does he not? Probably has said
he just smiles.
Ryu's very good, very good at directing the flow. So there is a voice there. We know that obviously Jankos and the rest of this lineup are very strong personalities. Still got to see how their individual dynamic does evolve, and I'm looking for the couple of weeks later in the season to actually ask them in person and figure out exactly what's going on.
I think there's a big thing about shot calling that we don't talk often about, is that you don't necessarily need one specific guy who can make the call. You need a team who understands when I say dragon, what do I need to do, each individual member? Okay, I know I need to push out top lane. The support knows I need to ward here. And this guy needs to go back and then return to lane and so on. To me, that is overall communication. And that's what I think H2K will learn. They won't have one specific guy saying, here's what we do. They will have 5 players all communicating together, but they all know these key words and understand where to be on the map when this word gets said.
And shot calling is such a difficult thing to talk about. I mean, very briefly, this past week in an interview, they were talking about how SKT have this kind of diplomatic shot calling. So honestly, without speaking to the team, it's very difficult to determine what level it's at.
With all that, and we think that we will see this team evolving to being one of the front runners on top of the table. But when Jankos and Vander X Rockout, of course, are on the roster, then you might have to be careful with that, but they do have the quality to make it. Let's look at the other side of the rift. We have the Giants with a revamped lineup with Adam, Ku, Xpepi, Adri, Godfred, and still their coach Lothar. So when we look at the Giants from last season around, they exceeded expectations. They went to playoffs all the way to summer. For them, they met their expectations. They stayed in the LCS, but there were some very interesting moves in the offseason.
There was. I mean, first of all, Werlip was a player we looked at and said this is one of the most improved players on this Giants lineup. They started playing more around him. I understand they weren't happy with the fact he only performed on 2 to 3 champions at max, and that's probably been the reason for them replacing him. And Frederick as well, El Bandito in the jungle there. Very inconsistent. So clearly this team has said, you know what? We're tired of inconsistency, small champion pools, so we're going to make changes. Big question marks, though, coming in.
Yeah, big question marks. One over keeping Adri as a small note, but on their new players, when you look at the 2 players they picked out from their tryouts, Atom and Ku. We don't know a whole lot about Atom as a player. Comes out of, pretty much out of Challenger solo queue. We've heard he's a meta top laner, but honestly is a little underwhelming when you speak to his solo queue performances. There is a small top lane pool in Europe, but it's Ku on the other side, who is somewhat of a Challenger veteran. Ku was just touted so much throughout 2013, 2014, how good he was on Cloud9 Eclipse. He went to North America during 2015 for their Challenger on Team Vortex. 2-4 record. The team ended 5th in the league. I'm not impressed by Ku, and I wonder whether his time has pretty much passed as a top-level European jungler that people thought of.
That's the big thing about Giants, is we can't really make a prediction because we haven't seen Ku play for a while on a professional LCS team. And Adam, as you mentioned, has 0 experience. He's never played Challenger or LCS, or Challenger Series, sorry. So we don't really know how to judge them. And I look at Ku a bit like in football, in sports, you have these wonder kids people call out always, you know. Not all of them become something. Some of them lose the talent on the way. this is his chance to show if he's still good enough.
Yeah, we look at the rest of the roster, things that have stayed the same, as you mentioned already. We have Adri, Godfred, and Xpipi. Now, in the mid lane, changing his name back to that what he had actually before last season. Is there enough room there to improve with these members is the big question.
I mean, Pep Bonero, or ex-Pepe now as he's known, in theory, as always for Giants, can be that carry that just destroys everybody in his path and just deals so much damage. If he has a stable lineup around him, now the top half of the map has changed. If Ku and Atom together have a very stable base, and if Adri and Godfred can shore up some of their weaknesses, I think it's still a good platform to Giants to build from, but it's a tough one. I'm going to be honest, like, ex-Pepe still has his work cut out from him in my estimation.
Well, definitely in this matchup versus Ryu, and on the other side of the bot lane as well, the matchup versus Forgiven and Vander. If you talk about covering up your weaknesses, I feel like that's a lane where you can't count on that.
No, of course not. I mean, I think H2K will come in with a game plan saying we want to play super aggressive in our lanes, especially down the bottom lane. We know Forgiven loves to push, and then sometimes he will overextend, but if the rest of the team has the same control in their lanes, if Ryu is obviously putting pressure mid lane, if Odamne is doing it top lane, as a jungler, there's nowhere to go all of a sudden, because you look at every single lane, they're all crying for help, and if you do show up anywhere, the enemy jungler just counter jungles you and kills you.
And
so,
yeah, exactly. I mean, I couldn't have said it much better. When you look at this matchup on paper, down the line, H2K should just dominate from the early game, should just get a lead and keep going, very similar to what we just saw G2 do. If something crazy doesn't come out from Giants in the way to
which
take that
could.
early game.
I mean, it is Giants. We know maybe.
I mean, maybe Atom has something up his sleeve. We'll see exactly where his champion pool lies. If they can somehow control the early game, maybe they can take this game. But I honestly feel this is heavily favored to H2K.
I just want to see progress from Giants more than anything. I also want to see it from H2K, because obviously it will take time to become a world-class team. It's not just picking 5 players and putting them together. But for Giants, really, it's what we lacked last year. Yes, they exceeded expectations for the first half, in my opinion, but then they just went downhill. We need to see that become stable. Consistency, macro play, it needs to be there.
Yeah, I do also hear that the players are still fixing an issue on stage. We should be able to get to picks and bans very shortly, but I'd like to tag on to that. Giants, we need to see improvement, because we're looking at a league where the middle of the table, possibly going to the top of the table, is revamped with some very, very strong teams coming in. So they'll honestly have to improve a lot faster than they did last year.
I agree on that one. And again, when you bring in new members, it becomes harder often, because these guys need to get used to LCS, the way Giants like to play. Communication, obviously, we know Godfred is very vocal on this team, and he made an impact last year as, you know, a more of a captain type maybe. But in-game, I felt like outside of his Morgana play, we didn't see too much from Godfred. So there are some question marks player-wise, and that's obviously why we cannot put Giants and say these guys will be top 6, because there are too many question marks.
And you look in this matchup for Godfred, he's got to go up against Vander, who he's had his share of different AD carries alongside him, but I think unanimously, whenever we've had discussions about Vander, he's the support that kind of slots himself 3rd, 4th in the league with how he can perform. At his best, absolutely, I think he's a top support in Europe, doesn't always get that. And Godfred now has to contend with that. Where is Vander at? Now he's got Forgiven, who just is going to be able to help him dominate that lane. I feel like this bot lane matchup is going to get eaten up alive unless Adri and Godfred have fixed so many issues in their laning in the off-season.
Vander is a support where, looking back at the people he's played with, he's never played with an AD carry even close to Forgiven in level. So this is his chance now to level up with Forgiven, how to play this 2v2 lane aggressively, and how to obviously use that to make the rest of the team so much better in the early game. And then add in the macro play we saw from H2K last year. The play probably really wants to add into his team. I mean, that can become super scary.
Yeah, and probably is still there, of course, to work with this project. Stuck with them. I do hear we're about a minute and a half out from Champion Select. Bear with us. Talking about maybe finally about that Forgiven play. Last year or last summer, only 33 kills. Rather, that is one of the least in terms of AD carries, because it was a different playstyle when he was playing on Gambit.
Yeah.
We do know that in solo queue, he likes to play how he always likes to play. So how easy is it to get that level again immediately in the first game of LCS?
I think for a player like Forgiven, it should be almost like riding a bicycle when it comes to just mechanic-heavy play. I think Forgiven is great for that. When you look at exactly his change between Spring and Summer, Spring, we were always talking about, oh, Forgiven can only do this. The team has to work around Forgiven like this. when he was on Gambit, suddenly Forgiven changed his playstyle, picks up Sivir, adds a lot more to his depth of play and became a more well-rounded player. So that is a very interesting prospect. Now, if he can hold on to both qualities.
The big thing everyone who's ever played with Forgiven always talks about is how on the individual level we know he's an absolute monster, one of the absolute best players in the West, but he needs to still learn more team play. They all keep saying the same. That's what he needs to learn. But it makes it easier for H2K to work with him if they feel like that's the one thing they got to focus on. Because again, the rest of the team, we know how good H2K can become when it comes to playing consistent macro play, great lane swaps. They have Ispa as well, the manager, former manager of Fnatic.
That's a very good secret pickup.
A big one because he's very, very good, working with the players outside of the game, also making sure they eat healthy because that guy is getting pretty buff. But we'll see if any of the players show up and they're suddenly looking massive. Who knows?
Yeah, okay, I think the players are ready. It's about time. It's time for these teams for their first test of 2016, so let's get it over to the casters quickly.
Thank you very much, Shocks. Once again, of course, we are going to get ready for this game. Still just a little bit to go, but Pyrotech's back on the desk with, of course, Crepo to get going for the next couple of games. So, about H2K here. Obviously, we're going to look at them the favorites. This is a team that everyone called the off-season winners or one of the off-season winners. But besides the support staff and the awesome pickups, what else have they got going for them, Crepo?
I mean, that's pretty much it, isn't it? I don't know. Hopefully a really good draft phase by Prolly in this ever-changing meta game with a lot of power picks. Speaking about coaching, picking champions, we're finally getting into Champs League.
We didn't have to wait at all. Here we go. H2K on the blue side. It will be Giants on the red for their debuts in this European LCS 2016.
Very interesting Morgana ban coming out because usually what we see a lot here in terms of power picks is Lulu, Gangplank, Ryze, maybe Fiora over in Korea. They really like their Lissandra. That's what we see. Giants ban out one of the power picks. Kind of peculiar with the Morgana ban. Maybe Godfred has been playing just a lot of Morgana support even on this patch still.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, that's what everyone remembered from last year. But maybe they're just trying to bank on the fact that they don't want to have to deal with a power pick or a pocket pick rather. And Giants are sticking much more to the formula.
I like the Poppy ban because I feel that's like a pick that could tilt Forgiven. Like the greatest AD carry player who is fantastic at juking. Like he's one of the best reactively juking players, maybe even in the world. Can't juke if your gap closer gets cancelled by Poppy W. So
that's true.
Removing the tilt factor from Forgiven. And for the rest, Giants looking to fill out pretty standard bans.
Yeah, Lissandra will be taken off the board too. So no mind game flex picks on that one. The last ban, there's still quite a lot available here in the power pick department.
Yeah, Fiora, Ryze is there, maybe even Lucian now that MF has been nerfed significantly.
Yeah.
Kindred was obviously still there, she gets banned out, so now the blue team here, H2K, they can start looking, maybe we want a power pick in the jungle, maybe a strong support.
First pick Trundle, I mean that's bold. We knew Forgiven is the big Lucian player. There are several, but he has been the biggest one. And maybe it's not really first pick worthy, but you got to expect if Giants don't answer this, if they don't take it for Audrey, it's going to go into his hands.
Yeah, I really like the Trundle Lucian lane overall as well. Forgiven can always dash in, then you have the pillar blocking, setting up for really good trades. Just a strong laning support here that in the end is still a flex pick that can counter some of these tank top laners because there was a lot of talk about going double carry, single tank top. Well, Trundle can be an answer to that.
Yeah, so Cool will go for a very, very standard jungle pickup in the rec side. And now we have that flex pick Ryze. We have seen it top. Definitely could see it mid. And we'll see if it does, well, where it ends up going. But they've got time for this one. And then, the Elise is still a very powerful choice. Jankos, oftentimes called the First Blood King, known for that Lee Sin. But Elise is a very powerful pickup in his hand as well. In most junglers, but especially his.
Forgiven. Looking to lock in the Corki here, tribute to Gambit, where he is pretty much put on Corki duty all the time instead of playing the more fabled hard carries. First I'll pick really big power spike on level 6. It could still be Corki mid 2. Faker played it, so therefore Rio could easily, always known as the other one, the other Zed, maybe he becomes the other Corki. Who knows?
Well, we'll have to wait on that one, but we do have a Graves pickup, which of course we've been seeing as a very strong jungle choice. Although even the last year, Forgiven was known to play that as well. But I do think that's where it's heading. The Corki, we still don't know. We could be in for a triple AD carry comp.
Yeah, it has to go into the jungle, and that kind of makes more sense with the Corki pick, because Corki obviously adds another layer of magic damage, so you don't go pure double AD carry if you go for the Graves jungle. That's probably why they opted for the Corki. I'm a big fan of Graves jungle. Not as big of a fan as Deficio. I'm more just maybe like a mini fan, but I think it's an incredibly strong pick.
you're definitely right, but you definitely have to use it very early on. We know Jankos is very good at getting this early pressure in there. Now that means the answer, they may take the AD carry for themselves. The Braum Lucian lane, if that gets locked in, and it does, is a good old mainstay.
Yeah.
Very powerful together.
Yeah, really, really good combo, mostly because it's so easy to stack the Braum passive with a gap-closing AD carry, but more importantly, the Braum shield will be fundamental in this team comp to block a lot of damage. You can soak up rockets, and more importantly, you can deny the entire damage output from the Graves. So we'll have to keep our eyes on Godfred if he can use that to peel. Already decent peel here from Giants though. Rek'Sai and Braum together should be enough of a front line to allow more carries to operate in the back lines. They'll need some time to get that Ryze scaling. Hopefully it gets put in the mid lane. Not the biggest fan of Ryze top because it's very vulnerable to ganks.
Well, what are they going to add in there? That's a real question. Again, we haven't seen Adam. And you know, you got to look at this other side of H2K in the top lane. Odoamne with Hunigon, arguably one of the strongest top laners left. I mean, you can say Cabochard's up there as well, Soaz of course, but Odoamne is somebody that you really can't overlook. He can definitely step up and do big things, especially on low resources.
So no Corki mid, Corki AD carry, Ahri locked in the mid, and then still a double flex opportunity here. Shen can go both support and top, so if a super tank gets locked in for the top lane, Trundle can actually be swapped to the top and Shen support can still work more than fine. So definitely a good drafting phase here from H2K with enough mid-game power, and that's really what you want to be in this meta game. Just mid-game power is what you're aiming for, because that's where you can really break open the map. At the other side, Giants is still flexing that Ryze around, so they're deciding whether it goes mid or top.
And they know that what they'll have to deal with against. Will Adam be enabled with this Ryze pickup, or will Pepinero, or ex-Pepi, as he's now being called, be the one to take that? And what do they answer with? They don't want to pick a super tanky top for those stat stealing, but and they have plenty of. They really do have plenty of fun. Like you
they
said.
need more damage. Yeah, they definitely need some more damage. So we're looking at some mid laners here. Maybe a Frost Queen's Clay and a LeBlanc could technically come out. Kind of hard to play LeBlanc to Shen though. Definitely wasn't thinking about Kennen.
No.
Maybe it's not.
It's usually not on everybody's minds, but if they do take that, that should go to the top. It is locked, and it's all to see if that's what they go with.
So range their ass into the Shen could bully him out of the lane. So early gank coming out for Adam could definitely do some bad things to H2K here. So if they can get Adam snowballing, it's a good thing because he can bully out the Shen. If they leave him alone, he still adds a lot of teamfight power. So Giants definitely looking for a teamfight composition. Braum incredibly strong. Rek'Sai has good peel. They have a wealth of crowd control effects that then the Ryze can operate in the middle.
Yeah, this is definitely a solid composition for Giants. It could be a strong lane in the top lane. It's definitely a strong lane in the bottom. Obviously, ex-Pepi has dealt with a lot of really wonky and lopsided matchups in the past, and he's tended to be the one that comes out on top and carries, but he can also be a bit of a wild man, going in too deep, and Ryu knows how to take advantage of situations like that. And on Ahri, you know, he had a couple of beast games last year. Probably was very outspoken, saying Ryu is the hidden carry, the one that no one expects to step up and just deliver the pain.
Yeah, looking at some interesting gank opportunities here, but we'll get into that later. Coaches shake hands, and we're ready to load onto the Rift.
Oh, yes, indeed we are. And you can see Ryu's already going to be looking to go very aggressive. It's the way the Ahri does it, but we want to know what you guys have to say. Why don't you go ahead and hit us up on Twitter, hashtag H2KWin or hashtag GIA win, as we get ready to load up into our third game of the day. Action starting hot and heavy, and you guys at home, we want to hear from you, so why don't you let us know. As we get ready to start it up, Giants, H2K on the board. Let's get going.
So yeah, the junglers will be very important this game. If Ku can find an opening, snowball lane, because the combination of some snare from Ryze and then an instant flash knockup from Pepinero, or ex-Pepi as he's called right now, could be enough to kill Ryu. As opposed to Jankos, he's just bringing a lot of damage to these lanes, so you'll need the laners to provide the crowd control effect themselves.
And they definitely have a lot to go on. You know, Ryu's got the charm, Odoamne's got the dash. If they start doubling up early and making big plays, taking advantage of that pre-level 6 teleport, the summoner spell one that is, they can definitely bring the pain to Giants, who are starting to step a little bit forward. They have instigated this lane swap, or at least part of one. Audrey's up in the top
Very
side,
dangerous.
but Godfred's in the bottom. Forgiven is going to check into some pain.
And I think
He is going to get flashed away, rather. Pepi pops his ghost, maybe a little bit too late, and Forgiven will make it out.
Pepi started snare. You should never start snare if a Braum is stacking passives, and more importantly, should not do it until after the Braum passive gets procced, because yeah, this is going to be a rough laning phase. Pepinero starting with a snare right now. Ryu should have actually the ability to bully that right now. And something we want to talk about now that the flash is down and the heal on Forgiven, it may prompt a reaction in the bot lane from Godfred and Audrey if they actually end up laning 2v2. But we're looking at a lane swap. That's something you can do against an inexperienced team like Giants is,
there we
lane
go.
swap, but they're initiating it themselves. That's actually peculiar. Putting Adam on a ranged harass champion and then initiating lane swap yourself, forcing the lane swap with a solo queue top laner, I'm not sure if that's the right approach for Giants.
Yeah, this is definitely really curious. Forgiven and Vander on the bottom side will go ahead and grab the Krugs early on, and they can get back without any worry of losing the farm. Yanko's hanging on the bottom side to start this thing off, but I don't know if Giants are looking for the lane swap preemptively and trying to
the only thing that makes sense,
what?
the only thing that makes sense is that because Forgiven lost his summoners and he has a tough matchup against him, Giants thought that H2K would default to a lane swap in the top lane even more, but right now, Forgiven losing the heal and the flash actually does not matter. So he doesn't get any impact because he'll be farming for the majority of the early game. However, Xpepi does lose the impact from using the Ghost and starting with the W early in the lane.
Yeah, so Rio shouldn't have too much trouble there. Not much of a CS lead, but obviously they've just gotten in there, and we can already see that there is a bit of a roam going on. Ottawamne looking to maybe try for a fast push with the help of Vander. Since there's no one here to stop this, this should be one of those good old 3v or 4v0s.
Yeah, you even want to speed up the 3v0 even more because the way the jungle experience got changed. Right now, junglers, they still get full experience from the camps, but laners not so much. So an extended double jungle where you're sharing is just less efficient. So the quicker you can get your top laner in that 3-man scenario and you can bounce that wave back, that's what you want right there.
Sad Yankos.
Experiencing some difficulties here with the patience bar on the go.
There we go, gets it that time. So because H2K started this one a lot sooner, Giants took a little bit more time. They should be able to finish it up faster, but it's still relatively even, and the question is then, do they go back and reset after the fact, or do they just keep pushing their luck? I feel like a team like Giants might just do that.
Yeah, definitely want to push in, reset, bounce away to your top laner, get him ahead, and then equal out. What we've seen in the LCK over in Korea is that the lane swap starts like this, teams swap around to the other side. Both towers, tier 1, go down on each side of the map, and then a very slow mid-game starts where teams are struggling to get anything done. LCK analysts predict that to happen every game. I think the next step then is really deep vision, and maybe H2K can generate that and start opening up the map that way. I do think Giants will struggle if that scenario actually comes to play.
Yeah, especially considering H2K have all the tools for a really ridiculous mid-game team. If they can get off on the right foot and not get set too far behind and into a really stale situation, as Rio doesn't know what's coming for him. Ku comes in, but he's out. Lands the charm too onto Xpepi. Nice.
Yeah, and definitely Ryu knows what to expect here. If you look at the bottom lane and the top lane, there's no way a jungler is going to interact with any of these lanes, so the only place ganks can happen is in the mid lane. If then Pepinero or Xpepi starts playing up a little farther ahead, Ryu basically smells the gank.
Yeah, pretty easily, and there's a lot of escapes that they have too. Even though Ryu's only level 4, once he hits 6, that's not going to be as much of an issue as long as he hangs on to his ultimate, unless he goes right for Pepe's face, and still fairly even as he pushes the wave forward himself. We start to see some semblance of normalcy. Just your basic lane swap, nothing else to see here with a couple of towers pushed early. 4.5 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, look at Yankos. He's going to assist his bottom lane, which is now top lane, to really zone off Adam off that tower. Adam level 3 on the cannon with teleport. And Dorn's Blade, incredibly stunted build path. So Giants opting for this lane swap puts them pretty far behind.
Yeah, this could definitely not turn out too well for them, but now we've got a 2v0 in both sides. A bigger wave for Giants, but they definitely took a little longer to get there. You can also see Yankos working his way through the Giants' topside jungle, so teams are just trading back and forth right now, giving each other a sort of gentleman's agreement as Ottawamne comes and joins the topside.
One thing that does work for Giants though is these accelerated gold gains from these turrets going down does help Pepinero get to his items quicker, and he obviously wants to scale as quickly as he can.
Yeah, that'll definitely help out Pepinero, but again, H2K, if they can group up after these outer towers are gone and they can start forcing things, they have the tools, once they hit the power spikes, it's not quite mid-game yet, to be able to get some serious damage onto Giants and shut the Rise down early.
No, that's a very good point, Pyra, because if you put the Graves and the Corki and the Ahri together in the mid lane, combine that with a zone that comes from a Trundle pillar, it will be incredibly hard for the Giants lineup to wave clear. The only reliable wave clear that they have is Lucian's Culling on level 6. Other than that, Rise will actually be out of position trying to clear those waves, so the siege that H2K have on that third middle tower that will eventually open up the map will be incredibly hard to deal with for the Giants.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the emphasis now that the outers are all gone should be placed in that middle side. A lot of towers taken early on with the pushes back and forth. Jankos is already motioning up towards that side of the river, trying to get the wards in for himself too.
Yeah, they're setting up the wards right now. We're not quite there yet. Obviously, we need the rockets on the Corki. We need the level 6 on the Graves. We need the threat of an instant burst. And then obviously we need the flying squad because Giants' response will be an immediate engage, cannon flank TP, Coup flash knockup, snares, concussive blows. That's the things you're looking for from the side of Giants.
They're still stacking pretty heavily on the bottom side. Vander and Jankos hanging out and just continuing to own this jungle. Coup has been focused more on trying to catch Ryu out, but now that he's got Spirit Rush available, he's going to immediately use it. Dashing sideways, they've got the teleport. Maybe he looks to turn onto Peppy. Godfrey is there. Oh no, maybe didn't want to complete this one, but he gets a double taunt off nonetheless, and another teleport comes in. This time from Adam, everyone backs away, but 2 TPs spent on both sides.
Yeah, normally if you get that level 6 mid laner action going on, the top laner joins in on level 6 as well, but Odoamne, the level 4, instantly has to flash out. Good reaction from Ryu though. Dodges. You have to immediately use ulti, otherwise the flash knockup could have been a one combo exchange right there.
Much lower cooldown though than that teleport, so he won't have too bad of a time of it. You can see Audrey pushing in on the top side versus Odo as he gets back to that point. Ryu perfectly fine in this mid lane. He's going to be so hard to gank. This guy's reaction times is just super crazy, and Coup, well, we don't really know how he's going to perform. That's what we talked about. He is one of the big question marks. This is his first LCS start. He's played in challenger teams galore, but this is the big stage.
Right now, Audrey is pushing in the top lane, dueling Odoamne. This lane swap has successfully hidden Audrey though, one of the weaker members on Giants. Many even question why he is still on the roster, as he was one of the worst AD carries in spring and summer, so didn't have to lane against the Forgiven God, so that's good. He's even on CS, they're even just like 9 CS behind, which technically is ahead against Forgiven.
Yeah, yeah, you're close enough, but I mean, it's still worrying if you take a champion that is lane bully like Lucian and you then don't want to opt for the lane. Now you can see Forgiven is already looking to try for that duel. He's picked the package up and he has set.
Yeah, he's trying to find Audrey.
Guy in his sights. There
you see, immediately when he picks up the package, it actually plays a global sound and slightly reveals Corki for a minute, like a miniature amount of time, like a second or so.
Haven't you?
Yeah, I've played against a lot of Corkis and then got owned when I don't look at my minimap. So when they base, always look at your minimap because he reveals for like 1 second, and then you gotta run away because package will just literally own you. So good pinging there, good awareness from Giants right now. The gold's still even, and their vision's actually slightly better. They put 3 ping ports down in their own jungle though. They should be slightly farther up. That's what I really ping ports. You need to use them. They're so valuable. Only 75 gold. They last for an incredible amount of time. All they need to do to equal a normal ward is last 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and you easily get that value out of a pink ward.
Yeah, H2K have got quite a lot of wards themselves, including that pink that Coup should spot, but he's not going since he sees the blue already taken away. Jankos has pretty much had his way with the Giants jungle so far this game. You can see that they are trying to keep that vision hot so they know exactly where both he and Godfred are at this point. H2K can now have a little bit more free reign on the map, and as you see, definitely a little more faith being placed in the H2K side, but about 40% of fans saying Giants are going to win this game.
A lot of fans rooting for Giants here. Wuhan up to Ryu. Yeah, slow early game. That's what we expected when a lane swap happens. It's almost a gentleman's agreement. It's very hard to break the mold because the successful play patterns, you see Avi a little stuck here behind the pillar, are just taking down tower, swapping around, taking down the other tower, and then it becomes a vision game, which is slower. It's a beautiful game, but not as much blood.
Speaking of slow, Jankos doing his best to clear the pink ward away. Reload. There we go. And a lot of Giants members now sticking around on the bottom side, or at least 2, I should say. 3. Adam is there along with Godfred and Coup. They're going to see if they can bait Odoamne, but he's been very smart about saving his taunts. If he needs to escape or if he can bait 3 under the tower, he can definitely get some serious damage done. This game is accelerated so fast, which means you can't necessarily dive that early on. Now Jankos and Rio could be in a bit of trouble, but they catch Coup on a charm. Godfred unbreakables, and they'll back away.
Giants realize that H2K is about to set up for the siege. Look at Forgiven pushing top lane. He's rotating down the mid lane. You'll have Jankos, Forgiven, and Rio triple range with some catch. Pushing into Pepe's rise. So can Giants hold off this siege? Can they block the siege? Because this tower is under massive pressure.
500 gold lead for H2K. They look to extend it a little bit further. Charm gets narrowly dodged by Pepe. They can't quite finish this one off just yet, but they do have the tools to get away. Traffic cone is up. Jankos is here now, sending out the Foxfire. Ryu just trying to keep the poke going. Another charm is dodged. But if they keep doing this and there's no response from Giants, they can get this tower sooner or later.
Yeah, and Odoamne right now, he has Stand United available, so he can just constantly freeze or soul push the bottom wave there's a very slow response from Audrey. He's not pushing out top for some reason. He's taking his time with that wave. That means H2K has all the time in the world to land Charm, maybe even burst Coup.
Not quite enough damage, but Jankos is certainly getting there. That will mean they can polish off the tower, get themselves in a much more comfortable lead. And yeah, Audrey is just not a part of this. He's down still about 16 CS. He's having to take some more junk. Well, rather, he's having to continue to stay up on the top side. Odoamne, meanwhile, is free pushing in the bottom, but he's got the double teleport available. That's the difference, and H2K are making much better use of their tools this game.
Yeah, and Giants, they just open up Pandora's box by letting that mid lane and tower fall for free, because right now, H2K have the liberty to invade any side of the jungle, put deep wards, and then start picking them off, even securing potential dragon if Giants don't sneak it right now.
They're going to try. Adam and Ku are there. Vander should know, but they know he's there thanks to that ward that he just clears off the board. Half the tower, or half the dragon rather, is taken down. They might just give this one away. It's not too big of a deal to give up first dragon because you know you can take another. It's never going to come down to that fifth situation. So Giants do successfully sneak that. Good move by them, but they've still got some catching up to do.
And yeah, Odoamne said it in the interview, 15 games they've played, give or take, with the lineup. So a lot of working to do, but they already have a good framework to operate within. They have Odoamne, who's an experienced player. They have Jankos and Vander, who have that jungle support synergy from in Rocket from last year. Not the best mid-game, warding-wise from them, but at least they have some experience. Contrast that with Ku, who's coming in fresh in the LCS here. Has to work with Godfred, who didn't really have that synergy either last year with Frederick.
Yeah, that's definitely a little bit more rebuilding for Giants side. H2K seem to have the synergy locked up. And you know, you got to think for these former Rocket members, Jankos and Vander, it's not the first time they've worn H2K either. If you go back to 2013, there was a 3-month stint. I believe they won DreamHack Bucharest way back in the day, but they still got him in the closet.
I don't have that backlog,
back.
man. I was just playing League of Legends back then. I wasn't paying attention.
That's okay, Crepo. You got the game knowledge. I can't do it.
You got the statistics?
Oh yeah. Well, no, Spellsy's got the statistics, but he feeds them to me. So more push on this bottom side. Tier 2 now. They can keep stacking up like this, and they're starting to get to these dangerous power zones. One more item component away from the Trinity Force for the Corki, and you know how Ham Forgiven can get when he feels powerful.
Yeah, exactly. And just like you were talking about how they would take down the middle lane tower earlier, they're doing the same thing right now. Push the side lane, get some of the Giants members there frantically trying to clear that wave. Once they're in that position, walk away. Move to another lane. Siege that tower. Once they're there, walk away again, because H2K, they have ranged advantage, they have poke, and as long as they don't get flanked and hard engaged upon, they will just siege every single tower down in this mid game.
And what is Adam doing on this Kennen right now? What is Audrey doing with this Lucian? The power spikes that they have, what they were able to do in the early game, didn't happen because of those fast pushes. They haven't responded well. They've just been trying to catch up in farm, but they're falling behind their counterparts.
Yeah,
continuously.
and Audrey's also stuck on the economy build here. Callflew's Warhammer and the Coco Agility. Jankos will expand on that, get caught a little bit.
He's going to flash. He doesn't dash. Looks like he spent it already, but Odoamne is there. The Rift Herald is starting to beat on him, but Giants are in hot pursuit right now if they can get the catch, but there are a few more dashes, and now they've let him on a wild goose chase, which means that Ryu can start pushing in the bottom side. Forgiven's going to join them. They've got so much going for them as long as they don't lose anything.
Yeah, action means reaction. If they go for the hard engage, they go for the pick Giants. That's all they can do, try and kill people. But H2K, they're playing the macro game, and that is something they were known for as a team last year already. You got to look at Prawley for that. This is one of the saving graces for your organization as a whole. They have this wealth of talent that hasn't always played the best macro game, but as an organization, they can mold these players in very great tactical players in addition to the mechanical prowess that they bring to the table. That is why many hail them as a super team.
Absolutely, and last year they were very quiet about that too. They had a lot of success, but they didn't generate a lot of hype because of that more macro-oriented playstyle that they eventually got to. But now, they're coming in, they're such a hyped-up team. Everyone expects them second, third, maybe even first place. And they're showing that they're not missing a beat here against this Giant squad.
Yeah, look at the power spikes. Abyssal for the early safety picked up by Ryu. He knows he doesn't have to go for any fancy picks, for any Frost Queen's Rush, because they can play the map. All he needs to do is survive, so if he gets caught, he has a little bit of an advantage, or if he catches Xpepi out from a brush, he can burst him with all that penetration. Once he gets Frost Queens finished, it's going to get even more dirty or disgusting, because once the Giants are starting to rotate between the lanes to match that siege, Frost Queen's claim comes out, slows them, and that's when they get picked off. So really, a lot of control exerted here from H2K, and very little counterplay from Giants. All their moves are incredibly scripted and honestly obvious, so as long as H2K keeps up the vision, it's incredibly hard for Giants to find an opening.
Well, you know, we don't allow scripting here, so Giants could be in a lot of trouble. At the moment, you're welcome. at the moment. They really need Adam to try for a flank, but they don't have enough deep vision to pull this off. They don't have any speed boost really outside of the cannon. I mean, this is the issue. It seems like their comp, yeah, you said it, they're very linear in what they can do.
Yeah, Adam now finished his Zonias though. He's looking for a teleport flank. That's what he wants. Ooh, good pillar by Vander.
Yeah, very nicely done. Forces that summoner spell away. Audrey will have a much harder time here. And again, they can keep pushing. Now, there's a teleport coming in. That's the flank, but Adam, he's going around the backside. They may be able to catch Jankos. They do get the stun off. He's exhausted. Throws the Zonias. That's the start. First blood. It's 16.5 minutes into the game, but Giants secure it. Odo comes in. They want revenge on the side of H2K. Ku running distraction duty, but he might sacrifice himself. Will it be a 1 for 2? It looks like it. Giants started it off, but they lost more than they got.
Yeah, very forced opportunity here. Adam lands, flashes one direction, and then uses his lightning rush to go one other direction. They get one pick, but they used all the bullets right there. Odo comes in, beautiful tower flash, and then H2K, they take another tower. Just look at how easy it goes. Whereas opposed earlier, Giants, they were trying to siege, minions just disappeared immediately. Forgiven, waving through that with one rocket, one Q, and they were gone.
Take a look at how that happened again. All started with the burnt flash by Audrey, and then all of a sudden, Adam has the brilliant idea
to teleport. No home guards yet. He's still on tier 1. He's going to go back in the lane after trying to chase Forgiven with flashes. Then decides otherwise, goes to the top side. Good exhaust. Godfred's already melted. Ryu gets exhausted, but none of his damage gets really denied. And was it taunt flash onto Audrey. Good target calling. And Pepinero's chasing the support right there. Overall, just chaos from the Giants. This play could have been set up more elaborately, better, just more structured, but it was a panic play. And you can definitely tell that some of these members are new to the LCS.
Absolutely, and they've definitely got a lot of time on their hands. This is only week 1 and only the very first day, so it's really a test run for Adam and Ku, but the whole team does need to get it together. Again, they are against a very tough squad of H2K, but for the time being, they're down 3K, they're down 3 towers comparatively. Jankos is just running right into Peppy, and that's not a great thing if you're Rise, as an AD carry running into you. Spent the calling to try and clear the wave here. Yeah. They've still got enough damage to chunk it out significantly. Another excellent pillar from the Trundle just to keep the interrupts going. Meanwhile, Odowane is completely uncontested in mid.
Yeah, H2K have the option to rotate to NLA. They're probably going to stay top here. Culling and Riselty are the only amounts of slightly reliable wave clear here. Forgiven just sieging away. And look how H2K is not opting in for any fights. And even though they are likely mechanically better in every single role, they could destroy these players in duels. They go for a very siege-heavy, calculated approach. Epinero
just like that
tries to defend, but he just gets picked off. And I like the way H2K is playing this game from a macro point of view, and also what it means for progression later in this split, because they can beat up this team likely just by pure mechanical skill, but they opt for a very strategic approach.
Hopefully not show too much of their hand, but they have definitely built a comp and utilized it extremely well. We talked about the mid-game power spikes. They have been rocking and rolling with it. As you just pointed out, that Frost Queen Sling completed on Ryu. And of course, look at a little bit more defensive build from Jankos. He's got the Hex Drinker just to prevent the AP damage that does exist. They're not worried about Audrey at all. To be honest, they shouldn't be.
Yeah, Audrey is the first one to get blown up in the fight, and then Jankos with the Hex Drinker, deceptively tanky there against Adam and Peppy on a double AP composition.
Yeah, and you know, they've also got their locket completed too for Vander, so they have a lot of MR available to them, and they've also got the extra shield in case someone does get popped on. It's close to 20 minutes. As you see, the Baron will be available, but H2K are likely not going to need this as they just continue on their trajectory to just keep pushing Giants further and further back, winning the war of attrition. They can take this game home easy.
Yeah, they can follow the same playbook they have been doing the entire game and then choose. They can choose which towers to siege. If they find it a little difficult, they can pick up the Baron buff. They can pick up the first Dragon buff as well, 6%. Both damages is definitely worth spending some time doing that. Trinket-wise, 4 blue trinkets. We saw Fnatic, once they got ahead, actually opting for all the yellow trinkets because they last longer and they don't get revealed. Perhaps actually a wiser choice if you do control the map. You don't really need to safety check brushes with the blue wards if you just move as a pack and rotate in between the lanes once all the members are revealed.
Yeah. It's definitely an option for them, but they're playing it about as safe as they possibly can right now. But there are just so many wards already scattered throughout the Giants jungle. That bottom side had always been lit up throughout this game, but Giants' warding area is pretty much limited to their own red buff and a few river entrances. They don't have a lot of vision, they don't have a lot of information, and that makes it so much harder for them to try and make these comeback plays like they did with Adam.
They can still make some picks though, because there's very limited amount of wards overall on H2K side. 3 sidestone wards, no pink wards in the inventory except on Ryu right now. And no yellow trinkets, so if the blue wards gets cleaned out, then Giants can still make some picks, and that's what they're hoping for. Somebody to get greedy, somebody to overextend.
Yeah, wait on that rise, keep on buying your time as much as you can, set up a good flank with Adam. As long as H2K don't get cocky though, that's going to be so hard. That opportunity is just not going to come along, and meanwhile the gold gap just keeps on widening. H2K 6K up, or roughly that, to Giants right now, only 31,000 gold in their pockets. Spooky Ghosts come out, Godfrey's going to get spotted right as he recalls.
Safety check by Ryu, how many people are here? 2 ghosts go out that way, there's likely not too many people here. Charming the rush, a lot of respect here from H2K.
Yeah, they're playing the safe game out and feeling this one out to begin with. Giants Gaming, for their hand, you know, they have managed to get a little bit in this game. They haven't been completely shut down. We saw that they're willing to make these plays, but it is so scattered. If they can sync up their synergy, though, we could see a very different team by the end of this split.
Yeah. Giants here going for a Hail Mary, trying to pick somebody off, but H2K is comfortably playing passive because look at the bot lane. Odo Wamne pushing yet again.
Continuing to do what he does best. Odo, he's often functioned on low resources, but this game he just really hasn't had to do all that much as Jankos goes in really quick. That might have been a mistake, but in comes Odo for the defense. They've got so many shields on that Graves, and now Ku is caught. Forgiven says mine, and he takes himself a kill.
Yeah, special delivery, kill steal. Forgiven with the package. Love it. The new addition to Corki makes him a very strong champion. Peppy Nero in the brush.
He got bit, but nothing doing. Rio's gonna take him down this time. A little help from collateral damage of Jankos. Adam had the TP, did not use it. Baron is on the table, but not for long. Godfred's the only man in the area. Adam's just farming down bottom lane. H2K have got this all locked up, and they just need to put a bow on it.
Yeah, Giants are grinding right now. There's so little counterplay, and the only counterplay is incredibly obvious moves that a team like H2K with good communication just immediately thwart.
Outer mid still standing. Audrey was able to get a little bit more damage onto it for his trouble, but with a pretty much free Baron after the take on Peppy and on Ku, H2K are sitting very pretty right now. An 8,000 gold lead. It's 23 minutes in. They still are on a massive spike for themselves. And Giants, even if they get the perfect flank, I'm not sure it's going to work at this point.
Yeah, it is too little too late. So all we can really do is judge H2K on the quality of their execution of Giants really here. What are they going to do? Obviously, splitting becomes even more efficient with that new Baron buff, or with the Baron buff in general. Look at how much of a hard time Peppy has cleaning that wave with his ultimate on, so definitely a rough time here. 1-3-1 split push, Ryu in the bottom, setting up some defensive wards, no overreaching, and then yeah, slow and steady end of Giants here.
Yeah, we have become the post-game grading system for all intents and purposes. Odoamne using his Baron buff just to keep that cannon minion alive, pushing out on the top, Forgiven, Vander pushing out in the middle. Giants have pretty much centered their defense there, but it's going to be not too long before the nut starts cracking. You see Rio on the bottom side. He hasn't had any really ridiculous, wicked solo executions, but he hasn't had to. They've just stuck together. They've been able to outplay Giants on every level imaginable.
Yeah, this is what becomes like the accordion split push, where one side moves in, the other side moves on, but out. You're never fighting them, but you're just putting pressure until one side messes up, you kill them, take the tower.
Or just start to shove it in even further. That wave clear is absolutely ridiculous. The tower is extremely low. In comes Adam. He manages to get the stun up on Vander. Flashes in and he throws the Zanyas, but they're already out of harm's way. Adam is already incredibly low. So squishy. In comes Ryu. Looks for the assassin. Forgiven's going to take it. And all 5 members of H2K are right there looking for the counterplay, just like you said.
Yeah. Immediately disengaged. Adam tries for a panic attack. Probably the best option Giants had right there. Just not enough damage right now. Odoamne tanks the tower. Take down the inhib. Look at top. Look at bottom. Inhib's dropping left, right, and center.
25 minutes is all the time we've had on the clock, but Giants just never could get it going this game. Nothing but Nexus turrets left, if you don't count the top lane, and it looks like H2K definitely don't mind. One is fallen down. Giants are in full retreat, but they've got nowhere to go, and Peppy is all the way back to Fountain. Godfred says unbreakable, but it looks like the team is. Odo manages to just barely stay alive. The last Nexus turret is down. Giants are back to their Fountain. This one is all over, and H2K are making a huge statement to start this one off. They might take a little more time to do it, though.
Yeah, very slow. Odoamne base teleport back and gets a kill. Nexus blows. Giants go down. H2K with the first win of the season. Not too much excitement because it was pretty textbook.
Good execution.
Yeah, it just shows you
How
that.
do you grade him?
8 out of 8. But yeah,
Excellent job, man.
great. Yeah, great bait. Just overall, it just shows you how strong split pushing is and how much composition without sufficient wave clear can get abused, even if it falls slightly behind. like the only wave clear they had was Lucian calling and then the Rise. Adam went for a solo queue pick in the cannon, and he got incredibly neutralized by the lane swap. I think Giants shot themselves in the foot majorly by opting for that lane swap. So we'll have to figure out. Maybe they'll come out on social media. I hope maybe answer the question: why did you lane swap? Was it mistakenly predicted lane swap? Because that could make sense. There was merit for H2K to actually initiate the lane swap themselves, especially if you consider that Forgiven lost his heal and his flash on level 1. But H2K didn't care. They still opted to go to 2 bot.
He was this close to being killed in the opening seconds of his first game. You remember last season rather, in the spring when he was completely unkillable. Well, it starts off, he is now 6-0-3, 100% kill participation to start things off. Even when he just jumped in to steal the kill, he made sure he had that score. So if you got him on your fantasy team, good job.
Yeah, definitely good job for drafting Forgiven there. And yeah, this game could have been entirely different if he drops there, because imagine Audrey gets damage spike, goes bot anyways, plays double Dorans into a summoner less Forgiven. Suddenly you get an entirely different game. That lack of wave clear doesn't get abused because you have winning matchups everywhere. Maybe Rise gets an extra experience boost from getting that kill. That means he levels up on the first wave. He can then in turn play aggressive. So much can change with 1 kill in the early game. That's why you never face take a brush level 1 in solo queue. Just play passive. Don't do that, kids. Don't make your support angry. But yeah, that was it for Giants.
Yeah, I mean, really, they just didn't have a chance after that. They just got pushed in too fast, too hard. 3 Furious, however many things you want to add to this one. And H2K showed off why everyone's been talking them up massively this season. The acquisitions, adding ISPA as well.
Yep.
It seems to have worked out so far.
Yeah, definitely need to see the progression. That's what I'm looking for from H2K as an organization, how they grow their players. That's something Giants failed to do, in my opinion, last season overall. Just got note from our stats guy, 6.8k gold as a Baron power play overall, even better than what we saw in the Elements G2 game. Yeah,
more than 5.5k.
Yeah, textbook finish overall, and Jesus Christ.
I'm using them all today.
Yeah, just get rid of the memes so we can actually start casting
them off to the side.
But yeah, really, really strong Baron power play and just no answer from Giants.
No, and they definitely tried. You know, I think Adam showed a really good initiative there, but it just was too little too late, and we'll have to see as they move forward into the split. But for now, we're going to send it side stage where Pulse is going to look into H2K's victory.
Thanks, guys. I'm joined by Forgiven here after that dominating win. And first off, was that your game plan from the start? Because it was a very low-kill game, but then it was all about the tower pushing, and then the game just kind of ended.
Well, we are a tactical team. We don't play solo queue. So when you see H2K playing, you should always think that we have 5 brains and we try to play the game the most optimal way. And we have a brilliant personality and the coach that helps us. And in general, all of our team is on the same page, and I think this will further develop as the season progresses.
Talking about progression, this team versus some of the previous teams you've been on, how has it been like, 1, integrating into this team, and 2, the potential that you think this team has? What do you think about that?
Well, even before me and the other players like Jankos and Vander that we joined H2K, the past seasons went to Worlds. We were kinda what SK were in 2014. So we kinda wanna replicate the success, but without pressure. We are a new team, like we barely played together for like 1.5 weeks. So you already understand that we're a team that develops. Like, if I predict the future, I wouldn't be joining 4 teams in a row. So I think it will be good. But right now, the only thing we can do is just we play game per game, and we try to develop as players.
Well, it started off very well, as we just saw in that last game. And finally, I do want to get your opinion just on the AD carry meta in general, how you think the AD carries have fared in the off-season, and also with Corki as well, and how you think Corki stacks up in the current tier list.
Well, like for example, I see Reddit every week, and like I see some threads that they complain about how AD carry is. The truth is that it has been worse, but it has been better. And AD carry will not be as Season 2, where you get 3 items and you one-shot 1v5 everyone. I wish it was like that, but unlucky. So I think with how the game it is right now, the role is pretty decent. That's all.
Pretty decent. Well, looks very decent on stage. Thank you very much, Forgiven, and congratulations once again on the win. We're going to shoot it over to the analyst desk to break down that game.
Well, Forgiven, spit in the fire. I always love listening to him.
Solo queue team.
No, we play tactical, out with the old, in with the new, and that goes also for the one-liner by far. Now it is, we are a tactical team. We don't play solo queue, and that is how we can summarize this early game from H2K.
I mean, he's 100% right, because H2K is what I am Cologne when they played. It was full focus on towers, objectives, not kills. Same deal here. I think we had to wait 18, 19 minutes before we had a first blood.
We did, but you look at the team setups in general from the champion select, and it was so obvious of what they wanted to do. I mean, someone could even have predicted
some of these picks, maybe. So
You said they will run with or a control mage, or Ahri, or LeBlanc Fischer. You're covering all bases.
I said, never mind control mage. I expect Ahri or LeBlanc with the Graves jungle.
Okay.
It was very smart into the rise, full control of the lane. Shen as well would maybe struggle a little bit against Kennen. But then, where's the lane swap? Oh, why is there a lane swap?
So that's what I was wanting to get to, is they get the flash from Forgiven. Crepo talked about it. They could have just taken the 2v2. Giants take the slightly conservative play, preempt the swap perhaps out of H2K.
I think they tried to guess, yes.
I think so too. But nevertheless, they ended up in a situation where it was 2 versus 1 against a team that has Shen with the teleport, has an Ahri that can roam, more global presence. I mean, Pepe was not running teleport on his rise. He was running Ghost, which does affect that. We saw teleport rise in the earlier games. So you try and then play a macro game against a team that have more global pressure and more options, and then you end up bungling it. I mean, we're about to look at one of these situations where just Adri with wrong place, wrong time.
I think, yeah, exactly what happened at the mid tower was really the opening for H2K where they take down the tier 1 mid tower, because the setup here, it's very important to understand when there's a lane swap, the guy receiving the wave towards his tower needs to be the guy with a global and often also the weaker guys. And this can't has been the top laners because obviously they've been denied. So bottom lane, Shen is there with TP getting the wave. Top lane, Adri's getting, that is wrong. They should have been Adam on this Kennen. He had a few seconds left on teleport, but by now he would have it ready. He would get this wave and he could now be a threat. But because he's sitting mid and it's Adri top lane getting all this farm, there's no global pressure. So H2K know, okay, we have 5 members because we have a Shen. We can just keep pushing. They get a free mid tower. And again, there's something we highlighted earlier in the day. Towers are worth so much gold. So once you start falling behind in towers, that goalie just keeps snowballing, 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 and you fall behind in items.
Yeah, you do. And I just look at that situation. H2K weren't pushed into making any tough decisions. At no point did H2K look under pressure to, oh, we have to, account for somebody being out of position here. It was just very simple, very quick movements to the tower, push mid. Adri's still top. He's still top. Oh, now he's coming down. We've got the tower anyway. And they just did that time and time again. Yeah. They got a couple of kills to open the game up, but honestly, by that point, H2K had such a lead because Giants just allowed H2K to just play the lane swap out. Exactly in a standard way, nothing overly special about it.
Yeah, that's very interesting to see because last season around at the beginning when H2K racked up a lot of wins, we said at the end of the split, maybe they aren't renewing anymore because they aren't dominating the competition as much as they did really much in the beginning through their tactical play. So it will be very interesting to see for me how Prolly will adapt this time around with these new players that might have a higher ceiling.
Hey, for sure, because again, if you have their mechanics, the individual talent of some of these members, we often talk about Jankos being a big upgrade, obviously in the jungle. Add in then that macro play, which makes H2K consistent. And I think in the LCS, both NA and EU LCS, the most important thing is just having a good macro strategy, because that gives you consistency and that will beat out a lot of the teams who might have better individual players. Obviously not the case for H2K, but some other middle of the table teams. But because you have better shot calling and better communication, you take basically all the objectives away from them and they don't do anything.
Yeah, you do. And I think that's such an important point. But to kind of half answer a question we asked earlier about who would be talking during the game, I did take a couple of minutes here in the studio. You do have the luxury of kind of almost being able to hear the players as they're playing. Ryu's talking a lot, Odoamne's talking a lot. Generally, all of the players are contributing, but those two seem to be the louder voices.
Yeah, very strong start for H2K and back to the drawing board for Giants. Now up next, it is the LCS Rookies of Splice versus the Unicorns of Love. And as we go, we'll hear from Hillesang on Steelback's homecoming to the European LCS.
Steelback has improved a lot. The last year when I played against him, I wasn't afraid. I didn't respect him that much. With the time he was playing in NA, he was performing good. And now that I play with him, I can see that he's really, really good.